Buenos Aires-born pianist, composer, and arranger, Pablo Ziegler has traveled the world as a soloist with his trio, quartet, and as a guest artist of orchestras around the globe. Also known for his role as pianist of Maestro Astor Piazzolla's quintet 10 years before retirement, Pablo Ziegler is currently a leader of Nuevo Tango, a fusion of tango, jazz, and European music art. My name is Claudia Morales, and I'm so delighted to have Maestro Pablo Ziegler here, sitting next to me.
Exactly.
Pablo, welcome to the library.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here.
Pablo, you have prepared a very special program for us. And when I say special, I really mean it because this is our first public program after 2 years of virtual programming. So please tell us, what are we going to listen tonight?
You are going to listen tonight all the program of the pieces that I recorded and many years ago. But with that CD, we got finally the American Grammy in the Latin jazz category. At that moment, I was very happy because usually the Latin jazz was going to all the people around the Caribbean Sea. No? But for first time, I'm very glad for it. This is like a award to Argentina, especially to Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is the capital of tango. The tango music belongs to Buenos Aires. The rest is folk music. And the tango was born in Buenos Aires. I was very happy for that. Now the Grammy, the American Grammy, is including this music in the Latin jazz category.
Well, that was one of my questions. And now that you said that, what did it mean to you?
Means just what I said. I'm very proud for my country that finally the musician from Argentina they can present their works, music works, to the Recording Academy and to be to be some chances to get some award like that, no?
Yeah, that was very.
For me, I'm very glad because it's my music, the CDs, and that program is we're going to play that program tonight.
Well, that's very special.
Exactly.
That's super special. And talking about the program, you have pieces such as La Fundición,
Yeah.
Milonga del Adiós,
Exactly.
including the program. Why do you pick those pieces for tonight?
Well, if you see the program and the CD, I was replicate that Grammy CD. No?
I see.
Some pieces of Piazzolla, some other pieces from my compositions. That's it.
And the ones that you pick from Piazzolla to play tonight, do they have any special meaning for you?
Yeah, well, meaning for many people, because probably those tunes are the most famous Piazzolla tunes, like Liber Tango, like Fugue and Mystery, which is an incredible fugue that he wrote for the famous operetta Maria de Buenos Aires, which is a kind of small opera, but and he wrote that fugue, which is a very unusual fugue. Fugue is also from Bach or from many classical musicians. It's like a 4 bars, just motive, and start the counterpoint with that. But this is 12 bars, propositions. It's crazy, and he did fantastic. The people tonight, they have the chance to hear that. No? I'm going to try to explain to the audience this kind of musical problem that Astor was passing with all his talent.
Now that you said that, I must ask, how can you describe your experience working with Maestro Piazzolla? How was it?
It was incredible. From the very first moment, I was not expecting that Piazzolla called me because I was playing at that moment I had jazz trio, but playing classical music and jazz. In one TV program, I played the Greek piano concerto with the trio completely. I was very young, very energetic, and that was probably one of the reasons that the people start to know me. They say, what is this guy doing this? Because usually I had a jazz trio and that's it, playing American music. Or I start to play Grieg, Schumann, different arrangement, like in jazz music. You know?
That's wow. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
What that must meant to you at the moment, and how was the rigor of working with Maestro Piazzolla at that time?
When he called me in our first encounter, I asked him, "Why are you calling me to play with you? Because I'm not tango musician." And he said, "Yes, for that, I'm calling you because you because I need people with different mind, you know, not tanguero, but I have a very good skills, classical skills, and very good jazz skills, and that is very necessary to play this music because the phrases are all the piano parts from Piazzolla are really complicated. You have, and he has in the past very good classical pianos or some tanguero that with very good technical skills. No?
And I read that he gave you a huge score for you to learn in a pretty short period of time. Is that right?
Yeah, it was like this amount of music. When I started to think, but this is crazy. In 20 days, I have to to learn to play 3 or 4 piano concertos, something like that. It was day and night practicing. And finally, our encounter was the first rehearsal with that quintet, 1978. I remember it was the final of the worldwide soccer in Argentina. Argentina and Holland. And finally, Argentina beat Holland. It was really funny situation. And we was playing in a very small theater in one of the very commercial streets in Buenos Aires called Florida. No? But finally, after our first rehearsal, he was very happy. He was at least happy.
Did you have at any point any doubts of like joining him because of the rigor and
No. When I see that, okay, I have to study fingering everything, you know?
Right.
But I did it. And he was in our commitment was for 10 years. He stopped because after 10 years he told us we have to stop because I'm going to have a heart surgery. And at that moment we stopped. I start 2 years after that. I was preparing my own composition. He knows that because sometimes I play some melody and he played the melody with the bandoneon, smiling me, and that was fantastic for me. It's like saying without words, go ahead.
Go on. Yeah.
Go on.
Would you say that your music has some? Are you inspired? Is your music like a follow-up? Are you inspired by Piazzolla? Did you start writing based on what you learned from your experience with him?
Yeah, basically what I learned from him and based in what I learned from classical music. Because being teenager, I started my career at my age of 4th, I entered the Music Conservatory of Buenos Aires. That is called Alberto Guinen, was the director. That guy was incredible. He was a student from Fauré, from the Fauré at the time was the head of the Paris Conservatory. We captured all that music knowledge from Europe through this conservatory. And I studied from my 4 years old until my 15 years old when I received my diploma as a professor of music.
So you said 4 years old. And how come? So are your parents musicians?
Yeah, because in my Italian house, they have the music like a side, and the dinner side.
Ah,
Totally
salón de
separate.
música.
Sí, sí, salón de música, the music salon. And he started being very little, just to, and my mother says, "Oh, we have to do something with this." And I remember it was very little, just going to one of the conservatory was one of the professors from that conservatory was very close to my house, and I went to that house each week, a couple of times each week during 10 years.
Wow. When I listen to your music, to me, it evokes Buenos Aires.
Oh yeah, of course.
I assume that's intentional. Are you inspired by Buenos Aires?
I remember that Piazzolla was encouraging me to be composer. He said, "You have to think. Please go." It was apagar la radio. Huh?
Turn on the radio.
Turn on the radio. Just try to listen your radio, your past, your fears, your everything is in your mind. Try to go there. That is the way to compose something original. And that's I did from that time to now. I still working. And in that way, I was composing. I composed a lot of different music. You know? Each time of my music is very different than others. I'm not repeating sequences. You know? I try to avoid that. No? Always like La Fundición, the foundry, with a big factory to melt metals, you know? And even music. That is fusion idea. And that's sometimes the title suggests me what I have to do, what I have to compose, in what way.
How would you describe Nuevo Tango composition? How is it different from other kind of music composition?
Well, the first reference is how what's happened from the traditional tango, the way from the traditional tango to the new tango. Astor started his career playing in one of the most famous traditional tango band, Aníbal Troilo, was very famous at that time, and played the tango. The traditional tango is like a steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's the rhythm. You can see in the steps of you can see the tango dancer dancing in that way, no? And Piazzolla started to reinventing different rhythms, and his most famous rhythm is called 3-3-2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That way it sounds like more European, no? Or more bar. He was admiring the music from Bela Bartok. And I went to Bela Bartok's CDs or whatever, and I can hear that rhythm and that kind of phrases that Piazzolla captured from Bela Bartok. Huh? Bela Bartok was a classical musician, but he's included his as in composition a lot of folk from Romania, from Hungary. That is the way. Sounds more like Hungarian dances. In that way, Piazzolla was transforming. When I started my own composition, I was looking also, okay, first we have to change something in the rhythm. Harmonies are harmonies, or what is the way? And I was experimenting with not rhythm that are 4 or that are pair. No? I started to write some preposition in 7/4, 9/4, which is a really unusual at that time. That really works. If you put the right accent, the right articulation, you say, "Oh, what is this?" Yeah, that you feel that still that kind of adventure belong to Buenos Aires music.
You can really feel it. It comes across very clearly. And this takes me to my next question. You mentioned that when you first started with Maestro Piazzolla, you were a classical pianist.
Classical and jazz.
classical and jazz.
Because when I received my diploma as a professor of music, I won the first prize and the gold medal. That kind of award allowed me to continue in the conservatory, preparing with an incredible professor all the program for the piano competitions. After 2 years that I was practicing Schumann, Grieg, all the piano competitions, all those beautiful concerts, this guy died. I was desperate. Totally desperate. Now what? But at the same time, one of my friends, very close to my house, bring me one of those 78 RPM discs, very heavy, with one of the jazz, one of the jazz compositions from United States. I was in love with that. At that moment, he was asking me, Pablo, are you ready to play with us? Because we are starting to a new jazz band. Yes, I said. In that way, was learning jazz, playing with those guys.
You know, so interesting you said that.
It changed my career because I, through that, I was starting compose. That was a trigger to start with my own composition because I was, of course, I was composing first by ear. And some moments I have to study composition, and it was 5 years studying composition with different, incredible, very good teachers in Buenos Aires too.
It's interesting that you said that because when I talk to many musicians who are now playing jazz, that's how they learn about jazz, just like that.
Exactly.
At the time, somebody gave them, at that time, a cassette tape.
No, I remember it was it was passing from one jazz orchestra to another jazz orchestra, playing the kind of Dixieland at that time. And one of the guys bring me one of the Jelly Roll Morton music book. I said, oh, this is fantastic. That was the way to learn to play jazz, and the final step was improvising in jazz music. No?
But you were not a tanguero at
No,
that time.
but no,
No,
it was not. No, my father was a violinist. He was playing violin in sometimes orchestra when he was really young. No, after that he stopped. He created a real estate company, just abandoned the violin.
Talking about that, you just came not too long ago from Japan.
Yeah.
You are all over the place. You play in the United States, in Argentina, in Japan.
Exactly.
How do you do
Europe.
that? In Europe.
No, because I start in the very beginning. I remember was I created my first CD with Sony Music, with all my compositions, and it was a quartet without bandoneon, because I was playing with the best bandoneon. I don't want to replicate that. And exactly. And I sent that cassette to one of the managers, Piazzolla managers here in the United States, and this guy was this absolutely, yes, this is fantastic. It's fantastic. It's not sounding like a Piazzolla. It sounds like you.
Yeah.
And I start to travel from Argentina to some venues or festival in the United States for a couple of years. After that, I had a proposition from the foreign office for the general Argentinian foreign office. No? That is, we are in the way to we like to, you and your musician, to start a worldwide tour through the embassies. But you have to put a bandoneon. Bandoneon player. He was right.
What year was that?
1990 something, 92, 93. because that CD was 1990 with Sony Music Argentina, with that quartet. And when I received this proposition for this foreign office to do this worldwide tour, I did it. I did auditions with different famous bandoneon player with one of my children. And finally, it was Mr. Marconi, which is like a crazy virtuoso. He was playing with me during 1 year, playing in the United States, playing in Europe, playing in Japan, playing different places in the world. At the same time was that famous Falkland Wars in Argentina. It was some kind of,
Then you mentioned that.
No, the Falkland War was before that. And in the foreign office, they said, no, we have to share to the rest of the world our music, our spirit. It was a very conflicted situation. No?
And now you mentioned that you have groups in different countries.
Exactly. I created one group here in the United States. Second one was in Europe. The third one is in Japan. I started that way because it was very inconvenient to ask for work visas for the old musician, and I tried to. This is the best way. Best way to play the music, whatever. So all the jazz musicians they did the same. They travel and try to catch jazz players in Europe or in Japan that they play very beautiful. This is the way to move around the world. If not, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
What are you working on right now? Do you have any special project that you're working on? What's next for you?
I'm just in the middle of I received a commission from Houston Grand Opera to compose an opera.
Oh, wow.
And I did it. I finished all the 27 songs for the opera, and we are in the process to the approval for the second draft. They are very happy with that, but we have to move some, dramatic. Some changes always happen. But we are waiting for the premiere. When is it going to the premiere? Probably 2023. Probably, I hope.
Wow, is that your first opera?
Yes, it's my first opera. But when I was living in Buenos Aires, I did a lot of musicals with my music. Musicals, movie music, whatever. I have a very good experience writing songs. For that reason, I said yes when Houston Grand Opera, because they were very enthusiastic about a book that I wrote for Argentina that's related to our history, and they were very happy with that. And the librettist is an American guy. That he did all the libretto in English, and after that he was translating to Spanish, and I was working with the Spanish version, because apparently right now all the United States opera houses are asking for Spanish language opera.
Oh. Well,
Not surprising me. We know that right now in the United States are around 90 million Spanish people.
right.
For that reason,
Makes
it's a
sense.
marketing problem. It's a marketing thing.
What in the opera that you said? Are you also including the bandoneon?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. The guy that is going to play tonight, for me, is one of the best in the world. I hope that he can play, because opera needs a lot of preparation. I don't know if it's going to be available for all those dates, but just in case, I have to think. I have some backup, just in case.
Exciting.
Yeah, because also in the opera, all the roles, the first role, sometimes something happened. Each one of the roles, they have the backup for each one, for the tenor, baritone, or that is the way to work. Because
How popular or not so much popular is learning bandoneon in Argentina right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of young guys playing bandoneon very well. And the bandoneon start in Germany, in Krefeld, because of one guy, Arnold, I can't remember, he created the first bandoneon, you know, but for the wars, to use like harmonium for the masses, no? And some German guy came to the Buenos Aires port, to all the bordellos around the port, and that that instrument is start to be part of the tango music, because in the very beginning the tango was starting with just flute, drums, piano, and bass. That's it. No bandoneon. Bandoneon appeared, I don't know, maybe in the beginning of the 20th century, or the beginning of the 20th century.
Are there any female bandoneon players nowadays?
Yeah, there's a lot,
Oh, yeah.
especially Asian girls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from
Oh.
Korea, from Japan.
Oh,
I don't know if from Argentina, I don't know. But probably, yes.
that's interesting.
Uh-huh.
So I'm looking forward to your opera. That's going to be so exciting to see.
Yeah.
Look forward to that. And Mr. Ziegler, what would you say to new young musicians coming up in this new DNA in the music world? What feedback would you give to them?
I try to encourage young people. That is like a mission to that. First, I start with my wife, which is very young, and she's a very incredible piano player, and she was learning. You have to pass one by one, you know, just to my way to do this music. Huh? But at the purpose, there's another guys very talented in Buenos Aires creating something different. I don't know yet, but probably, yes, it's going to happen. The same happened with jazz music, with the star in the bordellos of New Orleans. No? And the tango has the same kind of starting places in the bordellos around the Buenos Aires port. No? Now it's all over the world, but the jazz was all over the world. No? Which is pretty different. Recently I was reading a book from one of the critics that live in Buenos Aires, how Piazzolla what's happened with the jazz style and the Piazzolla style. And the Piazzolla style was very personal, really personal. He was not improviser. He was written everything. But for that reason, probably he called me because when I started the first rehearsal, he said, you know that, but play that rhythm in your way. For that reason, I was calling you. And I started to experiment different ways to put some more jazz inside his music. No? That's what I did from 1987 to now. No? And Piazzolla finally died because of stroke in Europe, July 4th, Independence Day, American 1992. And we have to catch the torch and run. Go. It continues. That's it.
Mr. Ziegler, it's been a pleasure talking to you this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending the morning with us. We're looking
Okay.
forward to the night's concert.
Okay.
And for the ones watching from home, please tune in to Pablo Ziegler Jazz Tango Trio streaming on our platforms pretty soon. Thank you.